Hello and welcome to the Surly Sock Gamer Club. This is Jason, aka GreywolfZX's, and this is day 2 of my Xbox modding project. Today I'm going to try and be repairing the bad traces on the motherboard. More specifically motherboard repair, because I am not going to try and repair the traces, I'm going to try and bypass the traces. If you watched day 1, you'll have seen the testing where I found out that the power and eject buttons don't function as they're supposed to. The power button does not turn the unit on or off. The eject button will turn the unit on, and then when you hit it to close the tray, it turns the unit off. And when you plug power into the unit turns on immediately. So, research online and inspection of the board says that it is because of these corroded traces up here at the front, which you can see right now. And I was expecting to just have to bypass the first two, but when you get zoomed in with this even not so great webcam, you can see that there's some little pits on the third one. Now, before I go to getting to soldering and getting all excited, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and actually run it between the traces, because I think there might be some bridging going on due to the corrosion. That would explain to me why the unit turns off when you hit the eject button. I'm going to go pretty light on it because I don't think it's going to be too severe. And go to this view so everybody can see how small, this is the screwdriver I'm going to try and use. And if you watch over in the little macro mode window, when I get the tip in there, you can see how huge that is. So you can get somewhat a sense of scale of how small these traces are, especially if you look up in the top view. So let's see if I can do this. I think I'm going to have to just switch. I'm going to have to move it, aren't I? Okay, hold it steady and let's just run along. Now the real question is, am I making things better or worse? Because who knows, maybe I'm exposing more of the corroded portion of the trace, and so I'm just inviting more corrosion in the future. But it does seem like I'm removing things that look like bridges. I don't have a proper, I guess, electronics lab microscope. There's a unit called a Tagarno, I think, and that is very, very much beyond my price range, especially given my limited usefulness. I don't do this very often. Well, this would be the first time I've ever actually needed one. It's not my type of soldering. I'm more of a hobbyist breadboard type, so we'll say putting my skills to the test here, going outside my comfort zone. And that last mark I made, got it more white right down there. Yeah, can't get in too close because I'm wondering if, I'm hoping that's just solder mask that I scraped, but now it looks worse to me, so yeah, my fears may have been correct. Now, like I said, I'm going to start with just the first two because you can see how bad they are right there. And those two, if I follow this along, well, if I followed along, if I go back to the beginning, it looks like they start right there, those two dots by R3V3. Yeah, that one and that one. Whoa. It's easier to do when you're not watching it on the screen. Right there. So we trace those along, and this is a much more interesting view. You'll notice I have that light there, and that's because this camera works a lot better when it's flooded with light. The frame rate is much more usable. And that's what happens when you have cheap equipment. So yeah, there's the first one. But we still got, there's our traces as previously established. We're following them around. Come to the corner here. I gotta move the solder that was holding my, we'll call it battery gantry, in place because I held it tilted forward so that it would be zoomed in on those traces. Come around the corner. We're going up here, following the traces, and come right here. And I'm doing this more for me than for anybody watching this at home because I'm trying to make sure the traces don't move or drop off somewhere. We're going to rotate this whole assembly so that I'm back in the light where I wanted to be. So we're going back to the corner. Came around the corner here, right there. Okay, and see they hook up over there and we pick up one trace. Oh, well, I guess that is another trace. So we got those two thick traces added on there. Well, we got one thick trace and one thin trace. Well, back to, I really need to rotate that more. So continue along. Yeah, that thin trace, that's throwing me off. So we go into, so that spot is on that thin trace we picked up. So I don't want to worry about that. But then as we get down here, come around the corner, and these three seem to be on the three traces we care about. And the outermost trace looks to me like it goes to that one right there. And then we got our inner, and then we got the innermost. And so what I'm going to try and do is, woo, wow, way off. Go from these two and just sort of run wires along that over to the edge, over to the other spots and solder them down. Now let's go back to here. Woohoo! Okay, so I bought this Cano wire for doing this, and 30 gauge stuff, but then I was thinking, well, what if I use an old ID ribbon cable? The gauge seems similar, and if I'm running 2 or 3, I can keep them together. And this is a, what, double-ended? Woohoo, hey, we'll come over there. There, we get it on all the cameras. And if you ever wonder why I use so many cameras, it's because I don't have quality, so I'm shooting for quantity. Okay. I'm never going to use that because if I'm ever going to hook up, I'm going to have the one with the 3 connectors so I can support a master and a slave device. And what's the point? And even if I only need one of the 3, one of the 2 drive hookups, the motherboard hookup I'll obviously need regardless, I don't care that I leave the other one hanging, unplugged. So I have no problem with hacking this guy up. And if I use the outermost wires, let's see if we can get a good shot. Put this down here in the way. You can see that bottom one's red. Wow. That is easier to see. Well, it's easier to see on the other side. That's somewhat true. But it's also easier to see when not zoomed in, oddly enough. Well, I guess, yeah. So that bottom one's red. So I was thinking I'll go for that edge, and then I'll have both of those. It'll be easier for me to differentiate, so I don't accidentally cross them. So I'm just using scissors and zipping the edge off. I'm just going to go 2, even though I said I might need to replace 3 or bypass 3 traces, because I'm not certain that, well, that third one I can run separately because it has a different starting location. So it's going to be easier for me to deal with these two. Hey, look at that. That totally didn't work at all. I don't know if you can tell, but the wires split out there. So that's probably why you don't do it this way. We'll give it one more shot. Trim this end off and see if I can just split these two out. I've seen others do this before. There has to be a way. Then again, maybe they use the older cables which have the thicker gauge wires in them. That could be the trick. Yeah. Maybe I'm needlessly tearing this cable apart because I'm going to lose all the insulation anyway when I do it. Well, see, that worked. But I got 4 of them. Well, let's peel those 4 away. The strip of 4, and see if I can split it into 2 strips of 2. Then I'll use, hey, look at that. It's working this time. Alright. So there's my strip with the red and the gray. We'll split these 2 ends apart. Let's see, that should be, go from here over to there. Yeah, that should be more than long enough, and I should be able to stretch it out and make it look nice. Now, I've already got my soldering iron heated up. I think I've previously stated I am not an expert. So, I have bad tools as well. My soldering irons are also not well taken care of. So don't be totally shocked when you see the worst soldering iron tip in the world here in just a second. If I can split these 2 wires again. Holy crud. Must need sharper fingernails for this type of work. And look at that. I got it just a little bit split. Yeah, you can't see that. Oh, there, just barely before I put it over behind the other. Yeah, and I'm sorry for the bare bulb shining in on everybody there. Like I said, that's to help the little cam that I'm using for macro mode to focus in and have a higher frame rate, because without that shining on there, it just seems to drop down to like 5 frames a second and just be horrid. Okay. Put my soldering iron and a little holder off to the side there. I'm going to see if I can do the little Ben Heck trick where he uses the soldering iron to melt away the plastic at the end just by dabbing a little solder on it. And it looks like it worked. I'll do that on both. Well, I might actually clip that one back. Let's get zoomed back in here. You know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I was going to go and just make sure. So let's go back to here. I pulled these up for a reason. Now these are the pages I found on day 1 when I was first researching this problem. And this guy, this is more how to just skip it altogether. Let's see, I definitely need to say thank you to Phil with coolblogname.blogspot.com for having this content, and posted by Goose. Well, and thank you, Goose. Let's see, Saturday, February 5th, 2011. Alright, let's switch to the other one. Stupid remote desktop. Alright, now this one's the ISO Zone tutorials, Xbox hardware and modding, trace corrosion repair. And it says version 1.2 and 1.3 Xbox, and I've got a version 1.0, I'm quite certain. But if you look at these pictures, they look identical. Did I scroll that wrong? Okay. And so yeah, we're following the traces along like I did with the camera. Yeah, his are looking better than mine were. General area of corrosion. Yeah, you pretty much got that right. I'm scrolling the wrong way. That's what I get for using touchpad scrolling. Okay, so go there, comes around, trace A, trace B, trace C. Yeah, I swear that was how. Oh, you know what? I played with this a little bit earlier, and I used my multimeter and tried to check continuity, and the source point for what he's calling trace B here, I got continuity to contact point trace A. So yeah, source point trace B, this one, I had continuity on contact point, or trace B. Yeah, one of those two I had. On trace A, I had continuity to contact point trace B here, and that threw me off. But that's what, that plus the testing revealed, oh, maybe there's a jumper between those two. Oh, I've been calling it wrong. I don't know, I've been calling it Kiner wire. That's the stuff I bought, and then I'm not even using it. Okay, so yeah, different version of motherboard, and yet everything looks the same as far as those go. And let's see, who? Floyd the Barber. Well, thank you, Floyd the Barber. Oh, trace corrosion repair posted by trace corrosion repair by Dark Matter. Okay, well, thank you, Dark Matter. Let's get in and see if I can pull this off. Like I said, I'm just going to start with those first two traces. And set my wire over here. This will be interesting. How can I do this without being completely in the way of my light? As well as, let's see if I can get in there and show everyone. Here's the end, and when you bring the soldering iron in, and you can, it melts the plastic back. Oh, out of frame. I don't know if I'm doing that well. Alright. Well, everyone staring at that may not be as interesting. We can go to this one. Yeah, that's not interesting either. Let's go back. Alright, zoomed in close. I'm going to try and mount these two wires. I'm going to put the red one on trace A. So that's going to be my outermost trace. And then trace B, I'm probably going to back that up. So I'm going to get a little soldering iron on the tip of my iron there. Wow, that is so zoomed in, and it is totally in my way, and I don't have a good iron for this. Heck, I'm probably going to burn my webcam. Let's see how... Yeah, you notice the frame rate totally drops as soon as I block the light. Can I spin this to work from the opposite direction? Alright. I hope everyone took their Dramamine. Here we go. Whoop. You, back here. Oh, I don't know why I'm being a perfectionist about this. That's actually amazingly clear. Alright, I'm going to be coming in from the other side this time. Maybe I won't block the light in its entirety. Although, the tip of my soldering iron is so pathetic, I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull this off. So, oh yeah, that's really bad. Yep, and when I said I might burn my camera, I totally just hit the outer black ring around the lens. Woohoo! Yeah, my tip's bad. This wire is... that is such a small hole. It's not going to go in there, is it? But maybe I can get it to stick to it. Okay. I exposed a little more wire there than I wanted if I'm just going to try and stick it to the front. Actually, before I get too insane with this, let's see what the counter wire looks like. Yeah. It was what I bought for this, and you know, proper tool for the job, especially because it was also the recommended stuff. Let's switch to a different view, see if we can get a more a better comparison of the two. Maybe it is a smaller. I'm trying to melt the insulation back on that. Let it cool for just a sec and pull that off. And it didn't reveal anything to me. There we go. Alright. I got the insulation strip there, and wow, that is so small. It is smaller. So this stuff's a heavier gauge. I guess I could have looked that up. I never really considered. It looked quite similar to me. Okay, so we'll try this, see if I can get it into that hole. Well, let's see if I can get it into the hole anyway. And that, I believe, is called a via. And that's where they drill through the motherboard or circuit board, and actually have solder flow through to the other side, so that there's solder kind of bridging both sides, so that you can jump a connection from the top side down to the bottom side that we're on. It fits in there, but I don't think it's going to go through. I'll give this just a slight bend at the end. And I've got the multicam so you can see me fiddling, but considering the detail is so little, you can't see anything that I'm doing. Okay, so that's that there. That soldering iron tip is so horrendous. I should have bought a new one. I hope I don't knock one of the resistors off the board here. And sorry if I'm moving this around too much. I'm just trying to get that in there. You're not going to heat up and go through that, are you? That would be quite impressive, but I doubt that. Woohoo! I can't believe I got that to work. But if you look at the wire, you'll notice I exposed a ton of it. Okay, it went through, but it didn't stick. But maybe that means I can have a little look with this. Let's see, I got that through. I'm going to trim it back a little because it's getting a little long. because, like I said, I melted the insulation back. Hook it back over. If I can push it down in the hole and then dab a little solder on it, then I'll have this end ready, and then I just need to measure it out and put the other end down. Come on, you can fit in the via. I know you can. I saw you do it. Okay, well, it's there. I'm gonna have to use the soldering iron and push it down like I did, which means I wasted time trying to trim that back. Although if I heat this up with the soldering iron, I know I'm gonna knock that stupid surface mounted resistor off of there, and then the next day 3 will be, hey, here we are testing Xbox number 2. Should get a really good picture of this before I do this, so that if I do knock a resistor off, I can find a replacement. Oh, there we go. Okay, still not my favorite job in the world. Now let's see if we can put a little dab of solder on there without totally flooding the whole thing. I got this really fine solder, but that doesn't. And of course the tip on this iron, like I said, is so messed up. Come on. Yeah, and then I slid everything out where no one can see. I did consider trying to stare at the camera while I do this, but I honestly, you know, the blur on it and the frame rate are the deciding factors. Alright, I got solder on there, and the wire seems to be sticking. So, I'm going to just drag this around. I'm going to, yeah, I will probably hot glue it along the old trace route so that I can, we'll say, more easily identify it later on. Granted, I hope I never have to look at this part again. Okay, well, let's see. If I pull it along there, I'll go here. I'm also hoping that, well, I could just, we'll follow it for the most part. So I'm going to clip right here. Actually, probably better to go shorter than longer, because I can make up for it by pulling it tighter. So, clip right here. Try and clip right here. And let's see what we can do with this end. Alright, so you can see the mess I made of that. Whoop. Let's see if we can get a good, better view. Slide it back. Let's go big, just for one shot. Wow, big doesn't help. Pull my lamp that's leaned up against the wall out so that, yeah. Alright. You can see it, but you almost have to take my word for it that it's there, huh? Alright, spin, and let's see. Here's our next victim. Those 3 little dots right there that are so much out of focus. Oh, bend. And yeah. everything back. There's our 3 little dots. Moving things in reverse because it's the opposite side. Bend the little camera down. Still blurry. Okay. Word to the wise, put your soldering iron back in the holder before you start playing with the cameras. Okay. That's that. Now, the outermost one is that guy right there. So that's the one I'm shooting for. Jeez. It almost looks like it would be easier for me to do it using the camera for this one. Now this one I don't think is a via per se, so I'm just going to try and melt the insulation back here. So that's melted it back just a hair. Need to clean the tip of my soldering iron. Need to get an actual soldering iron cleaner. Alright. Oh, whew, scared myself. When I was moving that all around, the tip of my solder wow. That's better. Stay there, professional video lamp that I did not steal from the trash. That doesn't go, you know, a floor standing lamp in someone's room. Certainly isn't. Wow, you're going to be the hardest one to hit. Okay. I'm going to have to do this left-handed. This is going to be, ooh, totally hit the cam with that one. Okay, that's about the right spot. Let's see if we can get some solder on you and get that guy to stick. And if I fluxed this, when I bought a flux pen, supposedly that would make this job a lot simpler right here. Might even give me a good solder joint. Let's go for that for just a second. As previously stated, not a professional. Alright, that's the flex pin tip, and I'm just going to try and dab it right there. And there we, oh, okay, so that's how that works. You push it down and the flux flows. So I'm glad I did that not here, because it would have flooded everything like that. Ah, what the heck. Okay, now all that's fluxed. Yay! Okay, back to me trying to left-handedly put this wire on with a really bad soldering iron. That only really heats well on one side of the tip. It stuck, but what did it stick to? That looks like our spot. Holy crud. Well, this will be a great experiment for everybody at home, because if this works, then you'll be able to it'll be amazing. Oh no, that's our spot. It looked like a jumper from where it was at. So I got the wire a little further ahead than I wanted, but I'm tacked on, and you can see the other two dots are clear. And if we go back to a overhead view, can we see anything? Yeah, I scooted it down. Yeah, you can't really see. That wire is on there kind of loose. Like I said, I'll just take up the slack. These are for the power button, so it's not like this is a time critical or a length critical trace. There's those high frequency or high speed traces where they all have to be the exact same length. These are for push buttons, so it should be a more forgiving scenario. Alright, time for trace number 2. And after trace number 2, seems to be that wisdom would have been to do those ones first because they were on the inner side. But before I spun this around, those were on the outside. Alright, so yeah, trace number 2 is this guy right here. That's the one I'm worrying about. So, same procedure as before. Whoa! Glad you can't see that. I went to grab the end of my wire and the whole roll started to unroll on me, so I'm just kind of rolling this back up. I swear I try to be organized. Alright, I'm going to use the trick, melt the insulation back a little. Whoop. When you melt the insulation back over the wire, you need to give it a second to cool. Otherwise, when you try to pull a little glob of it off, because it kind of globs up when you melt it back, it just stretches back over where you just melted it from. Okay, now the real trick here is to get this wire in without bridging the previous wire. Oh, look at that. I just melted all the insulation off of that sucker. I was considering buying some of the... I should have done this one first. Well, that went bad. This one's gotten really long. I'm going to clip it back, and we'll try this a little bit more. Maybe going through the hole is being too picky about it. If I can just get it soldered to that via, that should be good enough. And I'd like to take my continuity tester and test that first solder joint, but I was just trying to think of how can I do that, and I can do it, testing against the pins here that go to the power and eject buttons, but I wouldn't be really testing much because I'd be going from the pin over to where the wire ends. The only thing I'd really be testing would be this small part from these pins to the wire here, because I'd know I'd have that. I'd need to figure out where the rest of that trace goes to truly test it, and that I don't think I have the ability, or at the very least inclination, to do. Oh yeah, that's what I did last time, is I heated this guy up a little bit first. At least I tried to. Do not touch resistors with hot soldering iron. I do not want to have to worry about repositioning a surface mount resistor. That would break my heart to ruin this Xbox because I knocked a surface mount resistor off the motherboard. I really am a fanboy. This is a labor of love. I want to have fun with this. I want this thing to be awesome. And I definitely want it to work. Okay. This will be interesting when I review this video because I tend to babble, and half of the stuff I say I don't realize I'm even saying it. Okay, if I angle that, get that wire hot. Did it go through? Yeah. I'm going to give that a yes, it went through. Can I get a dab of solder on there without bridging to that resistor? Well, more specifically, let's see if the wire... It's in, so it's stuck to the solder on the vias. I gotta find a way to insulate that though, because it melted back so much of the insulation on... I do have some solder wick that I can use to pick up a little excess, but I have never tried to wick solder off when surface mount components are potentially bridged. Alright, I got a little solder in there because I just couldn't let it go. I'll measure this wire out same as I did the other one, similar to what I did with the other one. You know, just try and gauge size here. I really should have gone shorter with that other one. Oh, well. I don't want these to look lame. Okay, good. I did go to the right spot. You know, my ultimate hope was that I'd be able to lay these down beside each other and kind of hot glue them down and get a good look out of them. Make it look like it's not this hacky mess that it is. Well, I'm hoping that this is the worst video of the series, because I am not planning on editing this footage at all, because this is what I said I was going to do. I'm going to show the horrid nitty-gritty details. Oh, looking at the wrong camera when I was trying to aim that. Put it back in macro mode. That is nice and blurry. Let's see. Wasn't that the deal? Yeah, move you like that. Move you like that. Hey, look at that. That zoomed in quite nice. Pull that guy. Can we turn you a little? I'm surprised by that shadow. And the bulb's on the opposite side of where the shadow is. Okay. I already got flux on there. I've already melted the sheath back on the end of the wire. Get a little solder on the tip of my iron here, which you cannot see. I'm sure you'll take my word for it. And then let's try and reach past the other wire and solder this down without bridging the two. Wow, I really have to question my order of operations here, because I should have definitely done the other one first. Wow, oh man, that looks horrid. Solder mask test. Hey, it came off. Solder mask, ladies and gentlemen, that is why the industry created it, so that when if you're interested in solder mask and surface mount components and all that sort of fun stuff, I highly recommend the EEV blog with Dave Jones. He covers everything. If you want to see some videos of someone who actually knows what they're doing, that would be the guy. He has forgotten more than I know about this type of work, and considering that I don't think he's ever forgotten anything, that gives you an indicator of how little I feel I know. Okay. Alright, you know what? Sorry about this. Pulling it off camera because I am hitting the camera with the soldering iron, and I am more worried about screwing up this joint than getting a good shot of it. I swear I'll share it with you as soon as I put the solder on here. Did I get a bridge? I did not. Okay. Give you a view of what I just did. Alright, so there's that other one. And yeah, if it weren't for the fact that they're solder mask, I would be very worried about those right now. And like I said, if you can see up on the top one, look at how long those are. That's way too long. I felt so nervous about doing that. I do not want to take them back off. I need to put a dab of hot glue over these ends so that they do not so I don't generate a short there. I need to get back into the big mode. Wow. Lean you forward, see if we can get some, see how much wire is exposed there and how close it is to that resistor. If I get a dab of hot glue on there, I should be able to keep all those things apart. So, unfortunately, the hot glue gun, when I originally decided to do this video series, I considered just streaming it, but I knew we'd run into scenarios like this where I would spend most of my time away from the camera sorting through my garage. I'm going to stop this video right here, find the hot glue gun, get it plugged in, and then we'll continue from there. Because I want to test these two traces, or trace repairs, and see if that fixed the power button issue, or to see if I've, in essence, ruined this motherboard. Although I'm pretty sure I could desolder those and be no worse off than I was. Alright, so see you in a sec. Okay, I'm back. I've got my hot glue gun plugged in and heating up, and I thought of a way that I can test to see if I bridged or did anything wrong. I got my multimeter out so we can test. Those are kind of sharp. You don't enjoy dropping them towards your crotch. So, woohoo! Turn this guy on to continuity, and okay, we know it works. Now, given what we got here, you know, this shows us that the pinout for the pins we're looking at, starting with somewhat in reverse order, 10 being the missing one right there, and then 8, 6, 4, and 2, and then 9 on the opposite side of 10, you know, followed by 7, 5, 3, and 1. And so anyway, those should we should be able to test and see about continuity. More specifically, continuity between 2 and 4. You know, just for a, we'll call it a litmus test. 1 and 3 should be should have continuity because they're both ground. Alright. Yay, and I did that without touching my probes together. I'm more impressed with myself every day. Alright. So, 4 and 2 are these two, and they should not... Yeah, so I don't have continuity there, which is a good sign. That means I didn't bridge those two. Now, as far as... And they shouldn't be have continuity over to the grounds either. Now, the LEDs, I believe, should have continuity if I get them in the right direction, but anyway. The switches were the ones I was most concerned about because I have a feeling those are the outermost legs there, considering that's what I had trouble with. So turn off the multimeter, get the hot glue gun up here, put a dab on these guys here, and then we'll throw this sucker back in the Xbox and test. Wow, that looks so much grainier. The sun has gone down, and so it has gotten much grainier here. Just a little dab, and that covered it. And now I want to go to, no, not multicam, macro mode. Yeah, actually, that one's a good one. Let's move. Let's reposition our wires. Well, maybe I shouldn't tack these down too much if I am potentially going to have to fix something here. So let's get to the next spot. Woo. Thought it was more coordinated than this, but I can't control two things at once. Let's put another dab right over those guys. And although it hurts, I'm going to squish that down with my finger a little bit. Actually, that cooled pretty quickly. Let's get the strings off of there. Okay. Now if you look over here, if it'll focus, see the wires way up in the air? That's proof I did that, made those too long. But like I said, well, let's see. I need to keep them going from going where I don't want them to go. I guess we're just gonna put a dab here and a dab there. Right about where my fingers are. This should give us a little better view, and that'll keep the wires up, and hopefully I don't have to fix anything because I'm going to feel like a real idiot. So there's a dab there. Oh, too quick. Bring those two over here. And of course, you know, there's the whole, if I run traces across something that's potentially higher voltage and might cause interference, and I really think I should be okay here, but hey, I guess time will tell. Alright. I'm more or less happy with that. Okay. I'm less happy with that than I thought I was. One more dab right here. And my least favorite part about hot glue guns is the strings. Okay. Alright. I feel confident putting that back in the case. Well, we'll give a review of the hot glue gun points. Which seems silly because, wow, that looks really bad. There's a lot of strings there. Okay, strings poked away. I'll leave it fuzzy, that way it looks better. That one actually looks good. We're going to get that one in focus. And then our little here. You can see how it covers up everything I was worried about. Okay, hot glue gun unplugged. Motherboard set aside. And let's get our case back up here. So I was thinking about this video while I was searching for my hot glue gun and then stopping to make dinner. And I'm going to put out 2 versions of this video because this has gotten quite long and I'm not certain everyone would want to sit here through all of this, so we'll make a shorter, I'll make an edited version for people to be able to sort through, you know. We'll put that one in the playlist and I'll put a link to the longer version if someone's just that interested in hearing me babble while I solder ever so poorly. Alright, you're in there. Good. Power. Okay. That's in. Cooling fan. It's sad because if this works, I'm just going to take it right back apart again. But I gotta know. So I really need to put this together. Weird cable acrobatics to ensue. You wonder, don't you? Interesting. Oh, that little piece. You know what? I will live without the shielding up here at the front of the DVD drive for right now. This cable obviously easier to have this attached to the motherboard than to the DVD drive. And I'm gotta hold my tongue at the correct position, which I'm not doing. Let's revert back to the obviously easier, and I can take that horrid glaring light bulb out of shot so that it's not hitting, because I'm assuming that's got to be horrid to look at. Come on, there we go. Now you. There you go. Let me plug in this side. Oh. After covering everything with my head. Alright, there's that. That's plugged in. That's plugged in. That's plugged in. Powers are in. Last bit. And in the interest of time or laziness, take your pick. They tend to be synonymous. I am going to not put the top on because I don't think I'm going to gain anything by doing that. And it's probably easier to put the... I keep hitting that camera with my head, don't I? Is this one of those times you wish you could yell at me through the screen? I know I've had those moments when I've been watching videos. Okay. Done. Well, this will be the interesting test. Let's plug in AV. And as soon as we plug this in, if it turns on... It did not turn on. Well, 50-50. You know, are we... Is that because we're good, or is that because we're bad? Set this up like we did. Like I had it when I was testing. Or at least I'll pretend to set it up like I had it when I was testing. Okay. Power's in. Video's in. Ooh, power button works. Let's try it again. Oh, and turns it off. And it didn't turn on. DVD drive, yeah. Sweet. Alright. Will it close without turning off? And it closed without turning off. Oh, what do you know? The clock capacitor's bad. Hey. Alright. And since we verified these functions, this is almost more of a logic test. But if I hit power, the DVD drive should... and it turns off. Okay. I'm going to call that a success. And I think we'll stop here. Next will be clock capacitor. We'll replace it with the one I bought and see if it goes from there. Wait, you know what? Okay, change my mind. One more test. Should not be related, but I do want to make sure that the DVD still reads. And for that type of test, it really helps when if you know where your controller is. Oh, by the way, the ISOZone site I had up earlier, if you click anywhere on that site, you get this stupid fake, you have a virus message and there's something wrong with your system, and send us $100. That'll make everybody happier. So, if you do go to that ISOZone site I showed earlier, use caution. Alright. Let us see if you will load, what's it called? Outrun Coast to Coast 2006. It's trying. I'm not sure this DVD drive's 100%. It seems to work pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to blow on it and see if maybe there's dust on the laser. The super ultra professional way of doing it, I'm sure. But like I said earlier, modding, may go slim, get rid of the DVD drive entirely. And of course the point to modding is so that I can, what's it called? Rip my games so that I don't have to search the discs out. Now the fact that it's trying to read it is positive. I have another game kicking around here. If you look at that one, it is pristine. So, yeah, that mark that looks like it's on it is a reflection of something else. So, I'm quite certain this is a DVD issue, not a because I fixed the power button issue. Give it the last try. Well, that wasn't encouraging. Spinning, reading, and it stopped. Alright. I am going to... I can't let this go. I'm going to grab one more disc. I've already gone long. Oh, monkey ball? Yeah, you can't see it. This disc is totally beat compared to that one. So, we'll rub it with the shirt. Matter of fact, it's trying to read. And I bought this used just for the people who used to own it. Let's see if we can... Brian 14, Ricardo. Yeah, I suspect that's a DVD drive issue and not motherboard fix issue. So I will see you all on day 3 when I replace that capacitor. Goodbye. Okay, I totally lied. I blew on it one last time, and hey, lo and behold, look, it's loading the disc and running now. So, I just had the shell. I didn't break it. Actually, things seem better. Okay, thanks. Bye.